And welcome everybody. This is a new thing in the long-awaited writing podcast. Uh, and of course the title is To the Blank Page. Now, there's a ton of writing videos on YouTube. There's books, there's all kinds of shit that tries to like tell you a million different ways on how to write. And a lot of times, all the videos and books contradict themselves. Well, what I'm gonna do is, throughout a series of videos, and this might be a regular show, is break down my particular way of writing and to simplify things. Because let's face it, folks, work smarter, not harder. Now, I've got a bunch of writing rules that you can check out on my Twitter page and all, and you could use the hashtag crippled writing rules, and I'll leave a link in the description and all that, but it's very simple. Okay, the first writing rule has absolutely nothing to do with writing. And it sounds stupid, but trust me. The first rule is make copies of everything. Starting with the first, if you only have one page done, save it and make copies. Because let me tell you, stuff crashes all the time. You can't trust technology these days. And even if you're writing on a typewriter, trust me, make copies. Because, trust me, you will lose them. I have worked on so many projects, and when I was younger, and I just thought, one copy will work. I'll just, nothing will happen, and trust me, bad shit happens. And I even kind of broke that rule recently because I was working on my a non-fiction, kind of like my first tinge of journalism on something very big, and turns out I had it short and lost all my research and all the stuff that I was getting ready to do because it was a big project. That's a writing rule number one, is always remember to make copies of everything you do. Now, writing rule number two. This is where it really starts to get into the meat of actually writing. Now, there's a whole bunch of stuff about structure and all that, which I will get into probably in another episode. But writing rule number two is there are no rules. You are the creator. You are basically God when you write. And, so it's your rules, and you make them. And, but really, there are no rules. I mean, because there's millions of different ways how to write things. And again, I'm not talking about structure or anything like that, but I'm just talking about there are no rules. What I do is I write fast, and I don't look back. I do the Ian Fleming method. And yeah, the first draft might not look perfect, but that's not what first drafts for. First drafts are to make sure the story is intact. And when I wrote Who Wants to Live Forever in late 2011, I wrote it in 23 days. I started it July of that year, and I finished it on my birthday. And pretty much it didn't change. Basically, I just did one draft, and then I fixed it as I was going along. And that's another like tip I would suggest. Like it now, you can like make sure everything is right, but you don't have to worry about perfection right away. That is the editor's job. Now, I mean, I'm not saying you could be sloppy about it, because there's got to be some kind of like structure to keep the like reader engaged. But the whole thing is, like, do it as fast as you can within reason. And but like it doesn't matter if you're writing like a novel, short story, or whatever. There's no rules. People like to say there are rules. There's writing teachers. They have a whole bunch of different stuff. But really, like, it's all. Everybody's got a story in them, and everybody's got their own technique. And really, once again, I'll say there's no rules. And, and here's what I like to do. When I come up with concepts, I ask myself questions. Like, for example, what would okay, I'll give you an example. This is the idea, the question that I asked for my novel, Who Wants to Live Forever. What would happen if somebody did something so hideous and devious and like so evil? What would happen if the punishment of going to hell wasn't good enough? And what if that person was able to escape hell and jumped into another body, like in a like and so like what would happen if a good person who in a past life was the most evil person in the world? Like, what would be the consequences if there was really a God? And that's what sparked the idea. And I mean, it sounds pretty like depressing and stuff, but at the time I was going through hell. I I thought I was literally gonna die, so because of my neck and everything. So I like I said, it was a dark place. So that's basically where I asked myself that question: what would happen if somebody did something so evil and somebody escaped hell and was able to get back into like this world? What would the consequences be? And that's just it. It's all about asking interesting questions about, okay, what would happen if like this happens, and and I didn't know the answer. So the cool thing about writing is you get to figure things out. Now, I'm gonna look at the time, see where I'm at, because the whole point in this is I want to help as many writers as I can. And because like I said before, there's so many different videos and how-to books, it all gets confusing. What I want to do is create a streamline kind of like thing that will not only help like you, but will help like everybody actually. And that's kind of sounded stupid because, but it's true. Because there is no right or wrong way, but there is a smart way of doing it. And a bunch of people say, well, there's rules, and they're wrong. Now, formatting and stuff, that's different, like I said. But like, but if you want to create something. Remember, you're the God. writing rule number 3. Once you do set up your story and you do have a concept and you create the rules of your story, don't break your own rules. Example, Star Wars. More specifically, Star Wars Episode 9. That movie is one of the worst bits of storytelling I've ever seen in my life. And it's due to bad writing. I mean, the movie looks gorgeous, but the story is horrible. Disney did not know what they were doing. They just wanted fan service. And they brought in Palpatine, which was the stupidest idea. Now, like, would it have been a stupid idea, like, if Palpatine just showed up for a scene? No. But Palpatine died at the end of Return of the Jedi way back in 1983. And the way they just brought him back, that movie just ruined the franchise. Well, for a lot of people. And so for me, that movie does not exist. So the Star Wars movies go from Episode 1 to Episode 8. To me, Episode 9 doesn't exist because of bad writing. And because J.J. Abrams and company broke the Star Wars rules. Because, let's face it, George Lucas set up a scenario where anything was possible. But even though anything was possible, and it was in a galaxy far, far away, and it's fairy tales, I mean, there's all this kind of magical force stuff that was never seen in the movies before, and it just seemed to happen. And it was just, there was no explanation. It was all like crunched together. They had no story, and I mean, could it have been because of the death of Carrie Fisher? I don't know, but I'm just giving you an example of bad writing, which in turn made a horrible movie. I mean, if you would have given like anybody those kinds of like parameters and said, okay, this is what needs to be done, this and this. If you gave 50 people the job of writing that movie, you would have had 50 different ideas, and most of them would have been terrible, like the actual movie. But if done correctly, there's an awesome movie in there somewhere, but it all turned into a pile of shit. Why? Because J.J. Abrams and company did not follow the rules that George Lucas set up. So I'll just leave you with that for today. But so, rule number 1, just as a review. Rule number 1: always make copies. Rule number 2: when it comes to writing, there are no rules. You are the god. You create the rules of the story. Rule number 3: once you create the rules of your story, do not break them. It can turn into a convoluted mess. And, well, hopefully that helps. And, I'm gonna edit this bad boy real quick. And this has been the first episode of To the Blank Page. And thank you, and keep on writing, folks. Alright, later.